I invited my family to my surprise wedding, but they chose my brother's event instead. What followed shook my family, and for the first time, my dad apologized. Have you ever felt invisible your entire life, only for one event to finally reveal the truth in the harshest way? That was my reality. On the surface, my life looks perfectly normal. But in my family, I barely existed. Every accomplishment, every milestone I achieved was overshadowed by my younger brother, Mark. When the most important day of my life arrived, my wedding, they didn't even ask what the event was. They chose to attend Mark's football game instead. I never told them it was my wedding. That decision changed everything. Today, my family is in turmoil. Here's what happened. My name is Chris. I'm 30 years old, married, with a stable career and a simple life. But if you ask my mother, she'll tell you she only has one child worth mentioning, and it isn't me. My brother Mark, now 24, has always been the center of attention. From the moment he was born, the household revolved around him. Mom, 54, is one of those parents who believes her child's football stats are the most important thing in the world. She wasn't always like this. When I was younger, she attended my science fairs, displayed my school projects on the fridge, and made me feel seen. But after Mark arrived, it was as if I'd been erased from the family picture. It didn't matter that I paid for my own college education, never asked for financial help, and worked hard to build a career. To my mother, the only stories worth telling were about Mark, his games, his scores, his future. Dad, 55, never mistreated me, but he also never defended me. He just sat back while Mom praised Mark as if he were destined for the NFL. The only person who truly noticed was my grandfather, Ben. He lived about 4 hours away, but he called every week. He was the one who pointed out how unfair things were. I'll never forget how one Christmas, he confronted Mom about her favoritism. She didn't speak to him for months afterward. Another wound I still carry is about the college fund my grandparents set up for me. After a small house fire during my junior year, Mom called it an emergency fund and claimed it went toward repairs. Years later, I found out much of it was spent on Mark's first car and part of the down payment for his college apartment. At that time, I was working 2 jobs to cover my own rent. People often ask why I didn't cut contact earlier. The truth is, I kept hoping they'd recognize my efforts one day. I believed that if I achieved enough, they'd finally show up for me. But they never did. Grandpa Ben was the only one who showed real pride. When I graduated, he mailed me a handwritten letter with $120 tucked inside, saying, "Every man deserves a cold drink after walking the stage." That's who he is. I met my wife Olivia in college while working at the library. From the beginning, she saw the family dynamic firsthand. My parents only visited campus once, and that was because Mark had an away game nearby. They didn't even call me. They just posted photos on Facebook. Olivia's family, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. Her parents show up for everything, even small events. When she had a photo exhibition, her mom sent cookies for the whole class. It felt strange to me at first, but it showed me what family support should look like. The real breaking point began last year when Mark posted something online. But to understand why it hurt so much, you have to see the pattern. Mark had always been talented at football. He earned a scholarship, and I'll admit he was good. But the way my parents treated it, You'd think he was already a Hall of Famer. Mom even turned one room of the house into a shrine, filled with his jerseys, awards, and framed photos. Meanwhile, I worked my way through college without help, bought my own car, and built my career. When I told my mom about buying my first car with my own money, her response was, "Oh, that's nice." Then she immediately shifted to talking about how Mark might break a record that season. That's how it always went. Grandpa once told me, "Stop trying to compete for their attention. Build your own life. One day, they'll realize what they missed." At the time, I thought he was just trying to comfort me, but it turned out to be true. Because one night, about a year ago, Mark posted a video on Instagram from a party. He held up a beer, laughing with teammates, with music blasting. The caption read, "Some of us chase real goals. Some of us sit behind desks pretending to be important. Guess which one Mom brags about?" Followed by laughing emojis. Mom liked it. A few aunts did too. A cousin even tagged me with an eye emoji. That was the first time something inside me shifted. Not exactly anger, but a realization. They'd made it clear where I stood. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't text in either. But that post became the trigger for everything that followed. It was proof of how little I mattered to them. And it all led to the day of my wedding, October 16th, the day they didn't bother asking about, because Mark's game was more important. When Olivia and I returned a week after the wedding, I turned on my phone for the first time. It barely loaded before notifications poured in nonstop. Dozens of missed calls, texts, voicemails, and Facebook tags appeared. At first, I thought something serious had happened. But then I checked Messenger and saw messages she had uploaded around 10 photos. Us during the ceremony, Grandpa Ben giving a toast, and the dance floor. Her caption read, "Beautiful day celebrating Chris and Olivia." While some people had other priorities, the rest of us had a wonderful time. That single line, "Some folks chose other priorities," set everything off. People in our hometown began sharing it, adding comments like, "Wait, his parents didn't go? Didn't they miss his graduation too?" Some even tagged my mother, asking if it was true. Soon, it spread across neighborhood groups, old neighbors, and even members of our childhood church. It didn't go viral to strangers, but everyone in our parents' town knew. Mom commented under my aunt's photos. "He never told us it was a wedding." Others quickly noted that she hadn't asked, and that was the issue. Meanwhile, my inbox filled with messages from Mom, ranging from anger to pleading. The first were furious. "How dare you humiliate us like this?" Then came, "Your aunt had no right to post that. And the most ironic, you should have told us it was your wedding," despite her ignoring my texts for months. After hours, her tone shifted. "Please call me. People won't stop messaging me. I can't sleep. This is tearing our family apart." Mark added his own attitude-filled texts. "Really classy move, bro. You made Mom look bad on purpose. You're pathetic for hiding your wedding." I ignored them all. Then Grandpa Ben stepped in. While we were gone, he drove 3 hours to see my parents. Sitting in their living room, he told my father he was ashamed of him for letting this happen. My cousin said Grandpa didn't yell, but his words were sharp. "You've let that woman run this house into the ground, while your son learned to stop expecting anything from you." My cousin described Dad sitting pale and silent, like someone had pulled the plug out of him. Later, Dad called and left a voicemail. He apologized, said he felt sick for missing the wedding, admitted he had failed as a father, and told Mom that things had to change or he was finished. It stunned me. My father had been quiet all my life, and now he was finally putting his foot down. Mom, however, kept messaging. After the anger came guilt. I'm your mother. I deserve a chance to explain. You don't know how hard this has been on me. Your father's talking crazy. He doesn't mean it. By week's end, she was begging. Please don't cut us off. I'll do anything to make this right. Meanwhile, Aunt Helen texted. I didn't think my post would cause this much drama. I just wanted to celebrate you. I told her it wasn't her fault, but other relatives called too. Some of Mom's sisters scolding me for making her look bad, saying she cried all day and was embarrassed in front of friends. I told them she embarrassed herself by skipping my wedding for a football game. Dad's side supported me. Cousins left comments like, Chris deserved better. About time someone said it. The tension grew worse after Mark's big game. The reason they skipped my wedding ended in disaster. His team lost. He was benched in the second half, and though they scraped into the playoffs, they were eliminated right away. People online joked about him missing his brother's wedding just to lose. Even teammates leaving laughing emojis. Mark texted again, furious. You cursed the season with your drama. I ignored him. By week's end, Dad asked to meet alone. He chose a diner 2 towns over, not wanting anyone to overhear. When I arrived, he looked older, worn down. He got straight to the point. I owe you an apology. He admitted he should have been at my wedding, at my graduations, my games, everything. He confessed he let Mom control everything to avoid conflict, mistaking silence for being a good dad. It was the most direct I'd ever heard him. She tried to excuse it as a misunderstanding, saying she thought it wasn't serious because I didn't push. I told her that was the problem. She never cared enough to ask. She broke down crying, saying she believed she was helping the child who needed it most. She claimed she wanted to give Mark every chance. I told her she wasn't helping. She was obsessed with him and forgot she had another child. I laid everything out. The missed graduations, the empty birthdays, the stolen college fund. I made sure she couldn't frame it as just about one wedding. She apologized again, but I told her sorry didn't erase years of choices. Dad spoke only to say he'd started counseling and wanted her to join. He made it clear change was happening whether she liked it or not. I told them I wasn't cutting them off, but I also wasn't pretending everything was fine. If they wanted a relationship, it would take time and effort. Mom nodded through tears. Dad looked drained, but agreed. Mark asked to meet next. At the park near my apartment, he arrived in his team sweater, irritated from the start. He complained about pressure from scouts, his season falling apart, and how the wedding mess went further than expected. I told him it exploded because our parents spent years ignoring me. He said he never asked to be the favorite. I replied, yeah, but you enjoyed it. He didn't argue. He just stomped the gravel and muttered, people hate me now because of this. I told him they hated what he represented, a family that crowned one child while ignoring the other. He asked if we were okay. I said we weren't enemies, but we weren't brothers either. Not now. He stayed quiet. When I got home, Grandpa Ben called, telling me he was proud I stayed calm and didn't get pulled into another fight. Stick to what you said. Let time do the talking, he advised. Days later, my manager offered me the lead role on a new product line. More responsibility, higher pay. I accepted. For the first time in weeks, I felt my life moving forward, while they stayed tangled in their own chaos. By winter, Olivia and I moved into a bigger apartment, closer to work. My new job allowed us to start saving for a house. Dad followed through on repaying the college fund. Each month, he sent a small deposit labeled College Fund Payback, with notes like Month 1 or Getting There. It wasn't about the money, it was proof he was finally acting. He also told me counseling was teaching him to speak up instead of staying silent. Mom joined him a few times, and their counselor bluntly told her she had to stop living through Mark. I wasn't sure if she took it seriously. She texted more apologies. Eventually, I told her I didn't want more words. I wanted to see change. She said she understood, and the conversation shifted to what she planned to do next. Mark went quiet after our talk. His season ended badly, no offers came, and he stopped posting as much. Probably tired of people reminding him he skipped my wedding and still lost. In December, he texted that people saw him as the family villain. I told him it was because he had acted like one. He said it wasn't fair. I replied, it would have been fair if our parents had cared about more than his stats. He never responded. On Christmas, Dad visited alone. Mom stayed home, saying she didn't want to make things awkward. Dad brought Olivia baking tools she wanted and gave us a framed wedding photo he got from Aunt Helen. It was the first personal gift from him in years. Over lunch, he told me he was proud of me, words he had never said before. By February, Olivia and I casually started looking at houses. In March, Grandpa Ben visited. We took him to a park with trails and a lake. He used a cane now, but was determined to walk as far as possible. On a bench overlooking the water, he told me he was proud of how I handled everything, that setting boundaries takes more strength than cutting people off. He shared how standing up to his own father once changed how others saw him forever. Driving home, I realized how different life felt. Not perfect, but calm. No constant drama. No guilt-ridden texts. No endless debates about Mark. Just my life moving forward. A week later, I finally shared one wedding photo on Facebook. Me, Olivia, and Grandpa Ben under the garden lights. The caption simply read, "I'm good. Built my own thing with the people who showed up." No hashtags, no explanations, no replies. After posting, I set the phone aside and sat on the couch with Olivia and Grandpa, watching the sunset through the window. For the first time in years, everything felt in its place.